Hello, friends. We're live.
Hello.
Welcome to the day two Q&A with, I'm Karen Spees from Goddess Mastermind Group. And this is Lucy Clark from Goddess Mastermind Group. And today we're talking about goals, goal setting, planning, piecing things down into digestible pieces so you can get things done and move forward. And Lucy had some questions.
I do. We have received some questions to be able to answer here. The top question is, what do you do when you're stuck in moving towards your goal or just stuck for that matter? I want to say even setting your goal. It wasn't exactly clarified, but what do you do when you're stuck?
What do you do when you're stuck?
Mm-hmm.
I would say an important thing to do when you're stuck is to look into your why, right? And if you can get a solid why, if you could pull out smaller pieces, because I think there's nothing worse than an amorphous goal, right? Because there's no way to make it work. So I would say that would be the best thing to do if you're stuck. What would you advise, Lucy?
Well, I think one of the things that when I'm really feeling that stuck, it's kind of like, you just feel like angsty. I usually will this may sound super simple, but change my position, get out of my chair, stand up either at my desk, do like a walk around, and kind of come back to it and look at it maybe with new eyes, shake out the energy, put on some music. And I mean, definitely revisiting, your why and kind of having finding those burning, I guess, desire for why it is you want to do your goal. So I think all those things kind of can really work with shifting what's going on in your body. Could even be a matter of putting it in a different place in your schedule. Maybe the end of the day wasn't the best thing and you reevaluate and you try again.
Yeah, that's really smart. The somatic piece of it is super smart. I don't know if you've heard about these guys that are like, if you have a really hard problem, you just like put it in your mind and then you just forget about it and go like jogging or play tennis. And then what will happen is your subconscious mind will just like churn things in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So that's super smart.
I like that about the tennis match. And one of the places where it's certainly talked about quite a bit, in the shower. Things kind of come to you in the shower. So, you might, if you have that opportunity these days, a few more of us are working from our home office. Get out there, do some activity,
Shower,
then take the shower. Shower first, shower after. I don't know. Yeah, shower it out.
Awesome. All right. What do we got next?
Oh, wow. Well, one of the other burning questions has been, how do you handle that endless list of tasks, that kind of to-do list that seems to be expanding? It could be where personal things start coming in. You got this phone call, you have that bill to pay, you have to deal with a particular client. And there's just this, it feels like an endless list. So how do you handle that?
Right. Maybe not look at the whole day at once.
Break down the breakdown.
Right. Again, like the value of like chunking things down into small pieces is just like incredible. Like when we talked this morning and I talked about how I make a handwritten list each day. That way I don't have to be like, I can just be like, okay, what's the next item on the list? Boom. Focus on that, get that done, and then move on. I would say that's probably the best thing. And then also just being realistic about managing your time. Because I think, I don't know if you've ever read this book called Essentialism by, I think his name is Greg McKeown. And he talks about one of the problems that we have contemporarily is that you can say something in one sentence that will take you 6 months to do. So part of your brain believes that because you can say it in one sentence, that boom, you should be able to pop it off. So just like being really realistic with your time management and being like we talked about before, gentle with yourself, and not like, I learned the hard way many years ago when I was trying to get a website done and I was working at it until 1 a.m. and I crashed the entire thing and had to start over. Especially at 1 a.m, I cried. I cried. Yeah. And it's not like nowadays where you have like instant backup and you can like boom, 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 right? This was many years ago. And I was like, but I had not been respecting the limits of my body and my capabilities. And, I think that's, people talk about stress as like a main cause of disease and weakness. And what would you advise, Lucy, to that person?
Well, for me, what starts to happen is it isn't even necessarily that original list, but that you're going about your day and something else kind of gets inserted into that list, whether it be from an email or a phone call or something that you weren't even remembering that needed to be on that list. So it's kind of where things start to creep out of the whole overall, and you start feeling like then you're putting out fires. One of the things that's been beneficial for me is that when something's coming in, whether it be a piece of mail or a phone call, if my schedule is certainly allowing for those pockets of this flexibility, which I would build in, to do what I call touch it once. When that thing comes in, take care of it. Get just done. And whether you're really wanting to do that at that moment, that does really help. It tends to be a little bit more, again, things that aren't on the list. But now that I'm starting to build in those pockets of kind of like free time in a way, it isn't necessarily downtime, though I would definitely suggest that as well, so that you also feel as if you're going to get a rest. You're going to do these 5 things, you get a rest. You do this really big thing, give yourself a little reward. I like chocolate. So little reward, little rest, and helping to build that in.
But my question would be, if you have scheduled this as like free time for yourself, wouldn't that become like extra irritating if you have a little something that pops in that, and maybe you don't know how long it's going to take? Like for me, I know that would definitely get my ire up.
Well, and that's the thing. You're scheduling your free time for you, and then there's that what I would call a gap of flexibility for when things do take longer or something else came in. You've pre-planned because in business things are going to come up. So yes, you're taking care of yourself. You're not doing that then in your free time. You're doing that in that cushion that you've built in. A plus or minus half an hour. You tack it on at the end after something, perhaps maybe a meeting. Maybe you've already chunked your time out for social media. Don't go back in and do any other social later. Try to watch how you're compartmentalizing things, and so manage yourself so that you're on task.
So the short answer is time management, right?
Yeah, but who practices that, right? What does that look like? So those are
really everybody does practice time management. They just need to do it better and more sustainably. Right?
Okay. Yeah. Well, any other tips? I'd love to hear them from you. You have any?
Yeah, that's
we'll save it for a post.
That's the whole thing.
All right. So our last and final question: when a project starts to what we call scope creep. So this project, it began as one thing, and then a client something, it just starts to balloon and expand beyond what you originally sort of allotted for. What do you do about that?
Change requests, charge for change requests. Sorry, I'm talking to developer talk. But yeah, I think, again, that's just like revisiting how realistic your goals are in terms of how much time something is going to take you. And just to clarify, guys, here, we're talking about like the task-oriented daily goals. I think we're not talking about like this week or this month or this year type goals, right?
Correct.
We should probably give them different names because it is kind of a different thing. But yeah, I mean, I always say that, I've worked with so many people and they're like, oh, I only want, I just want a 4-page website. That's all. I don't need anything fancy. And the next thing you know, they've got like calendar integration. They've got an Instagram feed. They've got all this other stuff. And I say to people, like, they call it development because your ideas develop. Right? So scope creep, I think the main problem with scope creep is either being realistic about how long things take, again, the time management bit, and having good boundaries about what your actual goals are, and maintaining those, right? And if your boundaries change, if you have to reevaluate your goals, if you have to reevaluate the realisticness of either your time or effort, that needs to be done like with integrity and totally pulling apart the whole thing. And, the truth is sometimes we think that something's going to take longer. And like you're talking about, like things come up, right? And those need to be, it's just, for me, it's like, I really take everything on a case by case basis. And I balance like my commitments with my boundaries. Yeah. What about you?
Well, I have that sort of mentality of I like kind of customers always right, want to solve their problem when it comes across, and if they have set up their what it is they want their goal to be, let's say in the case of a website and that communication piece, if it's been determined, we can kind of look at that. And then when they have that idea, oh, I want to add in, email connectivity and start developing a list out of this, then you're right. It would be hey, wait a minute. I appreciate that you want to do that. Let's stay on course for the original plan and then add this as another component. And it is just I guess at that point, a conversation of having that beginning and end defined, that, hey, this is a success if we do this, this, and this. And right. Yes, let's add in that other portion. So if their goals are shifting and evolving because they're still thinking on the fly, that's great. But it's just a matter of, I think, letting them know. And if it's your own project, I think that might be a whole other thing. Because that's the other part, is that as we're doing things, we come up with another creative solution. Right. And what I would suggest in that case is take that idea, put it in, that little filing cabinet, the digital one, however you want to do it, and just come back to it. Put it in the quote unquote, I think people call it a parking lot. Comes up in meetings, so we table it. Yeah.
Cool. Well, we should probably wrap up because we're at about 14 minutes. So again, thank you for coming, you guys. If you have not checked out our Evolve Your Resolve Facebook group, go there, check out our Goddess Mastermind website and Facebook pages and all those things. We'd love for you to become part of our community and participate in some of our masterminds.
And also, just to give you an idea, when we are in our mastermind, kind of that 5-minute mark is one of those things where someone starts, talking about their goal or their problem or their challenge, and we give them a good 5 minutes. And that's, sort of your baseline for being able to express concisely exactly what it is you're seeking in terms of your question and then your answer. So we had 3 questions and we stuck to it.
And we time people. When we're in our group, we're very like Toastmasters. We're very much like, okay, just so you know, you have 1 minute left.
Brevity, conciseness, getting clear, it's all part of the process. And so as much as we can honor that, we're doing it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Bye.